Hey guys, Tony here. So let's talk about picking your practice niche. What goes into picking a niche? How do you pick a niche? What do you do if you pick something and then you're not happy with it later? I always like to say, physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech, we do this because we love what we do. We do this because we're passionate about it. We don't necessarily do this to grow a business to $10 million in revenue a year. So that being said, we want to maintain a certain level of interest, excitement, passion regarding the patients that we treat. And so we're going to pick a niche not just based on financial factors, but based on our personal interest. I hate to say it, but the reality is, as much as we do this because we say we love to help people, we love it because it makes us feel good. So at the end of the day, we need to take that into consideration. Now, all of that being said, I think we know and understand there are certain risk factors that go into taking what you love and turning it into a business. I love to cook. I cook 3 meals a day, every single day. I've cooked for years. I'm passionate about cooking. If I opened a restaurant, the last thing in the world I would want to do is become the chef for that restaurant. Like, that would turn my passion into a labor that I would just despise. So while yes, there's truth in the saying, if you do what you love, you never work a day in your life, there's also truth in we're going to change, we're going to grow, we're going to evolve. What I'm passionate about today might not be what I'm passionate about tomorrow. So I'm going to share with you 3 factors that I use when I'm looking at creating or picking a niche for my business. Factor number 1. I have to have interest in the topic. I have to be personally, internally motivated, intrinsically driven to learn and discover and find a new angle on the treatment of this condition. So many of you know, I tend to focus on patients who have had a total knee replacement. I think it's interesting. I think it's a population I enjoy working with, and I feel that I can bring a new perspective to the rehab process that's different than your classic, 3 sets of 10, quad sets, straight leg raise, long arc quad, short arc quad, and all that other stuff. I find that as I work with this patient population, they respond well, not just to the actual intervention, but then also my approach and my communication and the way I talk about the condition. So for me, I gain a certain amount of personal fulfillment, personal satisfaction and enjoyment by working with clients who have had a recent total knee replacement. That's number 1. I do genuinely enjoy it. Number 2, it's an easy population to work with. There's very low cancellation and no-show rates because it's not like somebody who places a low priority on the condition. I'll give you a classic example. In my clinic, we used to rent space to 2 orthopedic surgeons. They were spine surgeons. I would see all of their post-op cases, and many times that clientele tended to have a higher no-show and cancellation rate. They just had surgery. They felt amazing. They didn't feel that they needed physical therapy. Physical exercise and activity wasn't a priority for them prior, and they felt so good they were actually scared to go to physical therapy because they felt that we were going to make their symptoms worse. That was the nature of the beast. And so if I focused my practice on that niche, I had a higher cancellation, higher no-show rate, obviously less efficiency, less profitability. It was a challenging patient demographic. But when somebody's had a knee replacement, they are largely committed to attending therapy. I just don't have the same kind of problems with cancellations and no-shows. Rotator cuff repair is another demographic. I love patients who have had a recent rotator cuff repair because there is not a lot of wear and tear on my equipment. They come in, it's a relatively simple post-op protocol. They always attend their appointments because they're typically not driving. They're securing transportation. They don't schedule if it's not secured. And so there's a certain level of compliance that I see in this patient population that works really well for my clinic. And then finally, the third option or the third factor that I look at for choosing a niche is profitability, right? And so I just made a reference to it, but let's take a scenario where we're saying let's say knee surgery in general. So I could be working with 20-year-old CrossFit athletes, 20-year-old football players, collegiate athletes. There is going to be a dramatic difference in the workouts and the equipment usage for that demographic than, say, a 68-year-old who had a total knee replacement, right? I can use the equipment that I have. I don't have a lot of wear and tear. I don't have any usage issues. When I buy equipment, it lasts me 20 years because nobody is riding a recumbent bike more than 5 to 10 minutes. Nobody is using any resistance. It's just the demand on the equipment is so low. Whereas if I was treating or working with more of a collegiate athlete, higher level, higher demand population, I'd have to have newer equipment, better equipment, more money invested in capital expenditures. Even just from the perspective of what your clinic looks like. I could have very plain furniture in my clinic. I could have a very inexpensive plinth. I can have basic chairs. If I was working in a more affluent, high-end community and I was charging higher prices, higher rates, I'd probably have to have nicer stuff. So where I could open a clinic tomorrow for probably $20,000 or less, if I was in, Manhattan, downtown New York, I'd probably be investing 80, 90, 100,000 just to open a little 250, 300 square foot room. It's just crazy. So these are factors that go into choosing your niche, your patient population. Yes, I know in an ideal world, we choose the patient population we're most passionate about and we receive the most enjoyment from helping. But in reality, there's usually some compromise that needs to go in. Now, I would love to hear from you. How did you choose your patient population niche? How did you choose who you want to work with, who you're going to help, and how did you develop the solution that those patients need? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you're doing. Guys, as always, thank you so much. Support the channel by subscribing, and I'll catch you on the next video.